used to look up at the moon with my dad. He loved talking about it. He would sit beside me and point at the moon. "Doesn't it look like a face? That's the moon, son. You can always see him up there, with those crater eyes watching over us little people of Earth. There's a whole other side to him that we can't see way down here. Only the spacemen that have walked on the moon have seen what's on the back of his head. The dark side of the moon." I can still hear my dad's voice echoing through my head, and I've been looking at the moon more than ever lately. I've always had a fascination with the big space rock hanging over us. That interest and that passion has led me all the way to my career as an astronaut. It has led to my first journey to space and my current mission to land on the moon. It will be the first moon landing in over half a century. The Apollo 17 mission brought astronauts to the moon's surface in 1972. And yet, miraculously, we decided to never go back there. I've always wondered, why have we never gone back? No one has ever really been able to give me a satisfactory answer. Scholars say that it was budgetary cuts, or just a loss of interest after we beat the Soviet Union to the lunar surface in the middle of the Cold War. Then there are other people that think the whole moon landing is a conspiracy, and that we've never even gone there at all. There's a lot of debate, but the fact remains that for whatever reason, the United States hasn't sent anyone back up there. Until now. The Phoebus 1 is going to continue the work of the defunct Apollo space missions to the moon. I will be one of the astronauts along with 3 others in my crew. Only 12 people have walked across the surface of the moon in the history of mankind, all American astronauts, and we intend to join them in that honor and raise that count by 4. It will be my proudest achievement and what I have always dreamed about. Even now, as I stare up at the moon from the structure we'll be launching from, I know that I will be there soon enough. I will be able to join the Moon Man that my dad always told me about, and watch over the people of Earth from up there. I'll even be able to see what's on the dark side of the moon, another thing that my dad always wondered about. I wish he was alive to see me do this. If heaven is up high in the clouds, like they say, then I hope he's close enough to watch the moon. I stare at the majestic celestial body a little too long while I walk, and I trip over my own feet. I fall hard to the asphalt and someone laughs behind me. "Gravity's gotta get a few good shots in on you before we're out of reach." The commander of our mission, Bruce Wint, stands over me with a big smile on his face before he reaches for me and offers his hand. I take it and am heaved to my feet by my superior, immediately feeling a little embarrassed. "Sorry, sir." "I get it," he says, glancing up at the moon. "That's one amazing rock up there, but you'll be getting a much better look at it about 4 days from now. As long as everything goes well on the launch tomorrow, we'll be well on our way to Crater Town. Population 0, until the 4 of us start running around. Are you excited?" I try not to show how giddy I am about it. I need to keep some professionalism with my commander, but it's hard to hold it all in. I've waited for a chance to set foot on the moon since I was a kid, and all of the hard work I've done since then has prepared me to make that dream a reality. It's all I have ever truly wanted, so there's no words that can properly convey my excitement. I choose to settle for a simple answer. "Yes, sir. I'm very excited and ready." Commander Wint grins at that. "That's what I like to hear. I'll see you at the launch tomorrow morning. Try not to stare too long at the moon tonight. You're going to be sick of seeing it real soon." I doubt that. I don't think I could ever get sick of the moon. "Are you excited, Commander?" Wint's smile falters for a moment, but only a moment. "Of course." Morning comes and engineers make final preparations for the launch of Phoebus 1, while cameras and reporters document every moment of the preparation. Our crew gets equipped for the launch as we make our way to the rocket. Everyone I'm launching with are all well-trained astronauts that are perfect for this high-profile mission. I'm lucky to be among them. There's Commander Wint leading the mission to the moon. I'm most well acquainted with him. He personally requested that I be given the chance to be part of the journey, and I'll always be grateful for that. There's our lunar module pilot, Alex Moore, who I've become fast friends with. He always finds a way to laugh and is constantly telling stories about his son. Lastly is our command module pilot, Sebastian Keltz, but everyone just calls him Seb. He's great at his job, but he's the crew member I know least. That's fine. He won't be touching down on the moon's surface with us. He'll be staying in lunar orbit inside of the command module once we're up there, standing by to pick us up once we've explored the moon. We take part in the final preparations as Control cues us in on the countdown sequence. I would be extremely nervous if it wasn't overpowered by my sheer excitement. Things have gone wrong on rocket launches before. Sometimes they never leave the ground. Sometimes the rocket explodes once it's in the air. Then there's the chance that we could all burn up in the atmosphere. There's a lot of horrifying possibilities, but I try not to dwell on things like that. I just remind myself that a lot of very smart people worked hard to make this mission possible. That's what I need to hold on to. They did their job well, and I just need to do mine. The roar of the rocket is deafening as we launch. The blue sky and the clouds fade away as we continue our ascent. The sky gradually turns into a black veil of countless stars. We leave the whole human race behind us, breaking through the stratosphere to what lies beyond. Once we're in space, I breathe a sigh of relief. That's one step closer to my dream. It's a 3-day journey to reach the moon's surface. It gives us plenty of time to chat and find ways to pass time, all while making sure we stay on course. Moore is laughing to himself, shaking his head.
My kid is watching us right now. He got to see his daddy fly into space.
Seb whistles.
How old is he again, your boy?
Moore is beaming in a way that only a proud dad can.
Ryan just turned 6 in August.
That's great, I say.
I'm sure you're his hero. I really hope so. He's the best. The way he just lights up. His mom made sure that he knew his daddy was flying, and he told me he'll be looking up at the moon every day when I'm up here. And I told him I'd be looking right back.
That's sweet. It reminds me a little of myself and my dad, though my dad never came close to actually flying up to the moon. His son must be so proud of him, and is probably telling all of his friends at school about his astronaut dad.
My little girls wouldn't stop crying when I was leaving,
Seb says, rubbing the back of his head with some embarrassment.
They always want me to stay home with them. They're still not really old enough to understand what I do. All they know is that I'm leaving for a little while, and they hate that. You're lucky,
Commander Wint says.
The ladies in my life couldn't wait to get rid of me. My wife, my sister, they're all sick of me, and are looking at this as a nice vacation. I think they're even going to go to the spa together while I'm gone. I'm sure they're all going to miss us,
I say, not really having anyone waiting for me at home anymore. I can't relate to my crew as well as I wish that I could.
But we'll be back before we know it.
Commander Wint frowns and looks at me for a moment.
Yeah, we will.
I've officially left the planet. It's a huge step for me and everything I've ever wanted in my life. I dreamed of being an astronaut, and now I finally am one. All I need to do now is set foot on the moon, and I will have accomplished something that I've thought about since I was a child. We're so close. It's almost hard to believe. On the 3rd day, the moon is practically within touching distance. Most people in the world will never be that close to it. I can feel my childlike wonder coursing through me as if it never left. It's like I'm still just a giddy little boy dreaming of going to the moon. And now here I am. We load into the lunar lander as Seb makes the preparations to keep the command module in the moon's orbit. He'll stay there until it's time for us to link back up with him so he can bring us back to Earth.
I'm a little jealous,
he says with a grin.
I get this close to the moon, and I don't even get to touch the damn thing. We'll bring you back some moon dirt if it makes you feel any better, Seb. Gee, thanks. Have fun on the rock. I'll keep the car running for you guys.
We seal the door between the command module and the lunar landing module, detaching them. I watch as Moore guides the lunar lander down to the moon's gray surface. When we touch down safely, I'm already overcome with a wave of emotion. I'm officially on the moon. I wish Dad could see me now. I'm anxious to leave the lander. I can't wait to touch down on the moon with my own 2 feet. It's something I've always thought about ever since Neil Armstrong did it. It may not be as massive of a leap for mankind now as it was then, but it is a huge step for me. Moore seems just as excited as I am. The two of us get ready to seal our helmets, but that's when I notice the commander. Commander Wint doesn't start to get ready. He just sits in his seat, looking at a picture of his family in his hand.
Now that we're here, there's something that you all need to be made aware of. This mission isn't what you have been told so far.
Moore lets out a nervous laugh, like he's waiting for a punchline to a joke that never comes.
What do you mean? The Phoebus 1 mission has been kept under the strictest and most secure confidentiality since its inception. The specifics of it only shared with a select few, reaching as high as the White House and even higher. As the commander of the mission, I was made privy to the truth of our objective, but instructed not to brief the rest of the crew until we safely landed. So, now is the time, I guess.
I get a pit in my stomach hearing that. For something as dangerous as manned space travel, we need to be fully aware of our situation, but that clearly hasn't been the case so far. We're all supposed to be a team, but it's hard to trust my team when our leader has been keeping secrets. It must be something bad if he wasn't willing to share it until now, when we have no choice but to continue. Moore looks just as flustered as me, but he takes a long, calming breath to compose himself before speaking.
Just tell us, Commander. There's a very good reason that the United States and NASA haven't sent people to the moon since 1972.
I hang on to his every word. It's something I've wondered about my whole life, and I might finally be getting an answer. Commander Wint keeps pausing, but it doesn't seem like he's doing it for dramatic effect. No, he's struggling to even get the words out. His whole body is trembling, but he keeps collecting himself to say a bit more. Whatever it is, he's scared to even talk about it.
The crew of Apollo 17 discovered something on the moon. Some kind of alien life.
Moore shakes his head, nervously chuckling.
What the hell are you talking about? Aliens? Little green spacemen? You're not serious.
It's clear Commander Wint isn't joking. This is not some kind of prank that he's pulling on us. Every word he speaks is the actual truth, something that's not easy for him to share. His trembling hand moves to the console.
It'll be easier for you to hear it straight from the source. These recordings have been buried for over 50 years. Again, under the strictest confidentiality.
He breathes in to calm himself.
It should make things more clear.
A man's voice speaks through a lot of static and interference.
This is Commander Eugene Cernan of Apollo 17. Broadcast date December 14th, 1972. This is our third day of our mission.
The voice stops, and the man seems to lean away from the microphone. I listen closely and can hear the man starting to choke up, releasing some profanities away from the microphone, where he apparently thought he wouldn't be heard.
This can't be real. God damn it. This isn't fucking happening.
After a moment of static, his voice returns but is wavering nervously, like he's doing his best to push forward despite his audible terror.
We have found something up here. Some kind of phenomena that we can't explain. We're not sure what it is, but, well...
The voice chokes back a sob through the static.
We're seeing things. Things that can't be real. Ghosts. Shadows.
The commander of Apollo 17 starts to cry. It's more intense than just letting out a few tears. It's a deep, terrified, hysterical sobbing that can't be held back any longer.
We need to get home. We need to leave now. Right now. There's something here. Some kind of life form. It's trying to come with us. We can't let it. We will be launching in 10 minutes. Please make all preparations for our early return. We have no choice. If we wait any longer, it'll go with us to Earth. We can't let it. We can't.
Commander Wint rubs his brow, nodding solemnly.
Now you know. We're not here to test the new moon landing advancements. We're here to investigate what the crew of the Apollo 17 saw. They all made it home, but none of them would talk about the things they witnessed. Maybe it was trauma. Maybe they just wanted to wish it away like it never happened. That recording is the world's best evidence of life out here. And it doesn't sound very friendly, does it?
Moore isn't able to find humor in any of it like he usually does. Instead, his face grows red and he lunges for the commander. I manage to get in the way, but it takes all of my strength to hold him back. Moore is shouting and is absolutely inconsolable.
You bastard! You brought us up here after hearing that? You didn't think that was something we should know beforehand? I have a kid at home, you piece of... I was following orders.
Commander Wint counters, but tears are starting to form in his eyes.
They needed a crew to come up here, and most astronauts wouldn't want any part of it if they knew. You're damn right we wouldn't.
Moore snaps.
You're damn right. Alex, listen to me.
I try my best to talk rationally while I keep him at bay.
I don't like this either, okay? We shouldn't have been made to come up here without knowing the truth. I'm with you on that. But hurting the commander isn't going to help anything. We're up here now, and we have a job to do. This wasn't part of the job.
Moore relaxes a little, halting his mad dash to attack Wint, but points a finger at his commander.
You lied to us, and you're putting us all at risk. I know.
My mind is still racing. It's hard to process everything that we just learned because it goes against everything that most of humanity believes, everything that we ever thought we knew.
What about Seb? Does he know?
Wint shakes his head.
No, and we can't share it with him. Hearing what's going on, it might spook him, and the command module is the only way we're getting back home. We can't risk him leaving us here. Spook him?
Moore scoffs.
We're the ones on the moon with whatever the hell Apollo 17 found. We just need to stay calm and focus on the mission,
Wint says, but even he doesn't seem to buy his own words.
All we are here to do is observe and see if we see anything similar to what that crew did. If we do, we report it back to control. We don't have to do anything but keep our eyes open. For all we know, there isn't even anything here. And if there was back then, maybe they're all dead by now.
I try to push aside the mounting terror and all of the anger coursing through me to focus on what's ahead of me. I'm finally going to set foot on the moon. I will join such an exclusive group of human beings that have ever been given that honor. The moon's surface should look like my dreams being made real, but instead, now it feels more nightmarish. Knowing that we might not be alone here, and we might be in a great deal of danger, somewhat ruins the moment for me. I can't get that staticky voice of the Apollo 17 commander out of my head, no matter how hard I try. I just keep trying to focus on the joy I was feeling about the whole thing, hoping that it will outweigh all of the new information. We all get dressed in our spacesuits. I lock my helmet in place. We open the door to the vacuum of space outside of the lander. The gray, uneven landscape is ahead of me, waiting for me just like it always has been. I'm finally here. I touch down, and for a moment, all of my fears dissipate, and I feel an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. All of my hard work over so many years has paid off. I've made it to the place I've always aspired to be. Earth is to my right, and it seems so small. The view of it from up here just puts everything into perspective. I spent every minute of my life on that globe except for these moments, and there's something incredible about that. It's just like Dad used to talk about, except I'm the moon man looking down on Earth now. When I look around at the barren rock that we're exploring, it's hard to imagine that anything living could be here. There doesn't seem to be any sign of civilization or any kind of life. The only signs of life are from previous humans that came before. There are a few American flags standing still from the spots where they were planted, undisturbed. I make sure my cable is secured to the lander and start to make my way forward, I bounce over to a large crater. It could be one of the craters that I used to think were the eyes of the Moon Man when I was a kid. I crane my head over to look down into the enormous hole. The crater is a massive abyss with no apparent bottom, a gaping pit of darkness. I just keep peering into the deep, dark hole. A strange feeling washes over me as I look into the depths of the crater. Something is looking back at me.
Ryan?
Moore's voice pulls my attention away from the chasm on the moon's surface. I turn to find that my fellow astronaut is a few leaps away from me, but he's not as enamored with the craters as I am. Instead, his attention seems to be on the lunar surface. Moore is looking out across the gray landscape to his left. I follow his gaze and find nothing but the moon and then empty, black space. I skip over to him, letting the weightlessness of space do most of the work. I tap him on the shoulder.
Moore? What's happening?
He ignores me, frantically flailing his arms around like he's trying to get someone's attention.
Ryan! Ryan! It's me! It's Daddy!
Again, I try to see what he's looking at but find nothing at all. Is he having some kind of mental breakdown? He's yelling for his 6-year-old son, the one waiting for him back on Earth.
Come on, man.
I say to him, grabbing hold of his arm to try to get him to hear me.
There's nobody out there. Your son isn't here. Yes, he is. Look!
He keeps pointing his finger, but no matter how many times I look, there's no little boy on the moon.
Get a hold of yourself.
I'm careful when I shake him. I don't want to accidentally rip his suit, but I need to somehow get through to him.
Just use your head for a second, all right? How would your son be here? How would Ryan have gotten to the moon?
Moore doesn't seem to hear me, or he chooses not to. He's just waving his hand at a boy that isn't there, pulling away from me and skipping across the moon's surface in the direction that he's looking. He keeps calling out to his son.
Ryan! Ryan, it's me! It's Daddy!
I turn to grab hold of his tow line and reel him back in, but something moves out of the corner of my eye. It's hard to see things behind my helmet, so I turn my whole body around to get a good look at whatever it was that caught my eye. Something is moving on the edge of the deep crater I was looking in. As I step closer, I get a better look at the cause of it. It's a hand, reaching out from the darkness of the crater. A shape pulls itself upward out of the hole, rising up to stand in front of me. "Hi, son." It's not possible. It can't be Dad. He's gone, but it looks just like him. Like he's been plucked out of all the memories I have. It's like he never left. He's standing there with his hands tucked in his jean pockets, like how he always used to stand in the kitchen. He's got his Montreal Expos ball cap on his head and is wearing that green vest over his plaid shirt. He's exactly how I remember him. But there is one thing he's noticeably not wearing: a spacesuit. He smiles at me. "Just look at you. You've gotten so big." The logical part of my brain is desperately trying to figure out how I'm seeing him. It's got to be some kind of hallucination. Maybe there's something wrong with my oxygen, or it's some trick from cosmic radiation or some lunar mirage. But then there's the other part of me, the part that is so happy to see my dad for the first time in years. Even if he can't realistically be there, it's so comforting to actually hear his voice again.
How?
How? He just chuckles with that same coughing fit that always used to follow his laughs. "Son, didn't we always teach you about faith? There's life after death, and this is it."
So you're what exactly? A spirit?
"I'm whatever you need me to be, sport." I wanted to be him, but my instincts are screaming at me, keeping me grounded in reality. I watched my dad die years ago. I saw his burial as they put him into the ground, a long way away from the moon. There's no possible way that he's on the moon, spirit or not. I don't believe that it's him. I hear the voice on that recording echoing on my brain.
We're seeing things. Ghosts. Shadows.
Those words keep repeating in my mind as I stare at the thing in front of me, the thing that looks just like my dad used to.
You're not my dad.
The thing just keeps smiling. "Of course I am, son."
Don't call me that.
I look down at the moon's surface because I can barely stand the sight of him. "Look at me, son." I keep ignoring him.
I said, look at me, you little shit!
I flinch but keep my composure. It's obvious that this is some kind of trick now.
You're not him. He never spoke like that. So what are you?
His face twists into an expression I never saw the real man make before. It contorts in a way that most human faces would never be able to. His smile grows wider than it should be able to. I am the one who's been waiting a long time.
You're some kind of alien.
An alien? Because we're not on Earth? Look how close our homes are. We're neighbors, sport.
Stop talking like my dad.
Sorry, the thing says, still grinning. It's just so much fun. And we don't have much fun here. We don't have much of anything here. But there, he points at Earth below. That's a whole new world to see. So very different from here. You come from a place of possibility, just like the ones that came before you all that time ago. The Apollo missions.
We heard some of the first-hand accounts from the last mission to the moon. I take it that you were one of the things that they were talking about? The shadows?
We've been here so long. So very long. We just want to see something new, and to go somewhere new.
Where? Like Earth?
He makes a strange, shivering motion, and then stares at the blue and green planet, beaming at it with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. It's always so close. It's almost within reach, just sitting there, tempting us, beckoning for us to come and see what things it has in store. It looks so much more vibrant than this rock.
And how do you think you're going to get there?
He points at me and his finger twists unnaturally when he does. You're here to deliver us, just like the others could have. We tried a longer, softer approach with you people, but we're tired of this. We just want to leave, and we want to leave now.
I'm not going to let that happen.
Of course you are, he says. We're not going to give you a choice.
You're not real,
I say.
This is a mirage or something. You're not even here.
I turn off the speakers in my suit. I shouldn't be able to hear anything, but when he speaks, he sounds just as clear as he did before. Are you starting to figure it out? I realize that it's not my ears hearing his voice. It's my mind. He's somehow psychically communicating with me. He's in my head, probably digging around for things to exploit. That must be how he looks like my dad. Whatever these things are, these shadows on the moon, they are able to peel our heads open and get into our brains. You are going to take us away from here.
I won't.
I say, feeling a strain pulsating on my skull.
That's not going to happen.
It will.
Hey!
I turn and find Commander Wint looking at me. I see the concern on his face through his helmet.
Is everything all right over there?
I swing around to try to show him the thing pretending to be my father, but it's nowhere to be found.
Where's more?
I turned toward the direction he was in the last time I saw him. Thankfully, the tow cable he was attached to is still there. We hurry over to it and start tugging at it. We keep pulling at his cable, reeling it in until we finally see the end of it. The astronaut it should be attached to is nowhere to be found.
Damn it!
I say, swearing under my breath.
He ran off. He thought he saw his kid out here. I don't know. There's something happening. Are you lying to me?
I look up from the cable at Commander Wint, who has a strange expression on his face. He's never looked at me like that before. I shake my head.
No, of course not, sir. That's what happened. My wife and sister just told me not to trust any of you.
I freeze.
What did you say, Commander? They told me that you're all still mad at me. They told me that you're going to try to leave me here because I'm the only one that knew about what was up here. We're not going to leave you. And that wasn't your wife and sister, Commander. It's these things. The ones that Apollo 17 saw. They're messing with all of us, showing us illusions and things that aren't actually there. They showed me my dad, and they're showing you your family. They're manipulating us.
He doesn't look convinced. He's lost in whatever spell those things put over him. I shake him, trying to get through to him.
Think, Commander. Just think about it. How would your family be up here? They wouldn't be. They're not actually here. The things that are living here are just trying to convince us that our loved ones are here with us, but they're back home. They're back home waiting for us. Your wife and your sister. They're waiting for you on Earth. You want to get back to them, right?
Commander Wint blinks hard, and I see some recognition coming back to his face as he looks at me. He seems to come out of his stupor. At least, I hope he has.
Commander, we can't let them take off with us. We can't let them get to Earth. Who knows what will happen if they're around a whole population of people? They can get into our heads. Maybe they can get into everyone's head. You're right.
He says with a groan, holding his head in pain.
You're right. We've got to stop them.
The two of us start to make our way back toward the lander. As much as we want to help more, we both have a silent understanding of what is most important, and that's stopping any threat to our planet. Commander Wint speaks up beside me as we hop along the gray ground beneath our feet.
I should have told you all about what this really was, about what might be here.
It isn't the time for him to be confessing his sins. It's wrong that he brought us here under false pretenses, and it's wrong he didn't tell us about the dangers, but it's too late for apologies. We can argue more about it if we make it back to Earth. For now, we just need to work together to keep those things from getting a ride home.
Hey, wait!
We turn and find a man in a spacesuit standing behind us. It's Alex Moore.
Where have you been?
Commander Wint asks him.
Around. You weren't really going to leave without me, were you?
Wint sounds even more regretful than he already did. He wants to make amends so badly.
You know that the mission comes first, Moore. It wasn't personal.
I put a hand on Commander Wint and shake my head.
That's not Moore.
I know it's not. It's just like with my dad. The imitation is close, nearly perfect, but there's just something off about it. Even though this illusion is a little more convincing, it's still not quite right. It's like I'm seeing through him because he's not really there at all. He's just another mirage that these creatures are conjuring from our minds. There is something behind Moore's image. It's hard to see, like my eyes aren't quite able to process what they're seeing. It's a vague shape that almost seems invisible, or camouflaged somehow. It's a silhouette made of the starscape around us. It's large and lingering behind the illusion of Moore, like it's puppeteering it.
Where is the real Moore?
Commander Wint asks.
I'm right here.
Moore says with his usual little cheeky laugh.
Can't you see me?
Enough.
I say.
You're not fooling us.
Moore's grin suddenly vanishes.
Fine. You want to know what happened to me when you let me wander off on my own? I'll show you what happened to me.
The astronaut starts spasming in front of us. He looks at us with wide, terrified eyes, and his mouth opens like he's screaming, but no sound is coming out of him. The spacesuit he's wearing starts to expand and puff up, like there's something inside filling it. Blood suddenly rises up into view through Moore's visor. It rises up over his head until the entire helmet is full of blood and we can't see him anymore. He's drowning in there, in his own spacesuit, on his own blood. His voice speaks in our heads as the bloated, blood-filled astronaut starts taking steps in our direction, reaching out for us.
Is this what you wanted to know? Is this what you wanted to see? He was so happy to find his little boy, so gullible. He just wanted to go home and see his kid so badly. He never will, but we'll do that for him. We'll go see little Ryan, just like we'll see your wife, Lila, and your sister too, Brucey. We'll pay your family a visit and have such a good time together.
Commander Wint lets out a roar of anger as the two of us are holding our heads, trying to get that voice out. There's nothing we can do, though. That thing is gripping our brains and won't stop whispering.
Oh yes, we are going to have so much fun once we get to our new home. We'll tell them what happened to you. We'll tell them why you never came back down.
Shut up!
The commander leaps at the deformed, red-faced astronaut in front of us. He's not thinking, completely lost in his fear and rage. He tries to tackle the illusion of Moore, but passes right through him. Instead, he gets close to whatever that thing is behind Moore, the puppeteer. Unfortunately, Commander Wint doesn't stand a chance against it. It's hard to see what that thing is doing exactly, but I watch my commander suddenly be lifted off of his feet. He's raised about 10 feet off of the surface of the moon. He starts screaming in agony as I hear his bones crack. The creature slams Wint back down onto the moon's surface, kicking up debris that floats gently around him. He is heaved back up and brought back down over and over again. Wint looks like a rag doll being tossed around, and then I hear his visor crack on one of the impacts. I see how dazed he is when he is brought back up by whatever invisible hand is holding him. He looks at me with a lot of regret on his face, I know he wishes he warned us about this possibility before we got here. And now I'm sure that he feels guilty that he ever got any of us involved. He came to me personally when I was recruited. He wanted me here. And he got what he wanted in that regard. Now I'm here to watch him die. And I'll probably be next. Wint's body smashes down to the moon's surface again, this time making a new little crater from how hard he lands. I see his visor shatter and see his mouth open wide as the vacuum of space pulls the life from his body. His face bloats and freezes before my eyes. The shadow that killed him laughs in my head. Commander Wint is suddenly dragged across the surface of the moon and is pulled into one of the deep craters nearby. I bounce over to follow, looking around me with terror for that almost invisible force that's still laughing at me. When I reach the edge of that pit, I stare down into the blackness, hoping to find the body of Commander Wint. I can maybe at least bring him home to have a proper burial on Earth like he deserves, something I won't be able to give to Alex Moore. That's all I want. I can't see him. It's too deep and too dark down there. It's a lost cause trying to recover him. That's instantly obvious. I turn to try to get back to the lunar lander. I need to take off and get back to Seb so we can escape to Earth without letting these monsters on the moon escape their exile. Just as I turn away from that crater, I feel two hands wrap around my ankles and I'm pulled onto my stomach. I look down and find both of the astronauts I came to the moon with hanging onto me from the darkness of the crater. There's Alex Moore, his face still shrouded by the blood filling his helmet. And Commander Wint is beside him, his visor cracked open and his face deformed and bloated from the exposure to the conditions in outer space. They're both trying to pull me into the pit, to wherever those depths lead. I hear Moore laughing from within that helmet full of blood, making red bubbles fizzle and pop within the visor. Commander Wint is snarling and excitedly whooping at me, his face twisting and contorting in inhuman ways. I know it's not really them. That creature is trying to kill me, just like it did to them. The things that have been living on the moon want to take our places on the lunar lander and use our equipment to fly to Earth. It's clear that they aren't friendly extraterrestrials. If what they are saying is true, then they want to go down there and hurt the people that we love.
You don't have to worry about that, do you?
Commander Wint says, though the voice doesn't sound like his own. One of those things is speaking through him. It's in my head. It's hearing my thoughts.
We won't kill any of your family or friends, because you don't have anyone left down there anyway, do you? No one cares about you. You have always been so focused on getting up here that you completely neglected anything down there. All of those opportunities squandered. All of those relationships lost. What a waste. We'll give you what you want. You will get to be on this rock for a very long time.
It's trying to get to me, peeking and peeling into my memories and my insecurities. It's trying to get to me just like it got to my crewmates, but I just keep focused on the mission. It's clear to me now what the objective has really become. Survive and get back home. That's what matters now. I need to get back to Earth and warn them all about what I've seen here. I won't be quiet like the crew of Apollo 17 were. I'll tell everyone that will listen, and maybe we'll be able to come back without all of the secrets and all of the caution. We'll send people that will be able to kill these things.
Do you really believe that?
Both of the astronaut corpses keep laughing at me, but the laugh belongs to the creature reading my mind.
You think that you're going to be able to leave without us? No. We have been waiting too long for that. Far too long. We've been patient. So very patient. But it's time. It's our time now.
I keep kicking my legs out, trying to shake those things off of me. I try to pull myself up from the edge of that seemingly bottomless crater.
You're staying!
The voice yells through Commander Wint's mouth.
That's an order! Your commander is giving you an order! Shut up!
I snap, trying to ignore the voice and the two dead astronauts clinging to me.
You're not them. You're not any of us. I'm going home, and you all are staying right here where you belong.
I hear roars beneath me, but with all of my strength, I pull myself out of the pit, dragging myself across the lunar surface to get away from the crater. When I look back, the two mangled astronauts are gone. I wait for them to follow me out of the hole, but the disturbing recreations of Wint and Moore are nowhere to be found. My breaths fog up the visor of my spacesuit for a moment, and I try to calm them down. I'm the only human left on the moon. I wanted to come to this place so badly, but now I want nothing more than to leave. It's clear that the moon is better from a distance, a very far distance. I pull myself to my feet and look across the lunar surface to where the lander still sits. I just need to get to it and initiate the launch. I might not be the pilot, but I was trained on enough of the equipment to be able to get it out of this place and back up to the command module. From there, Seb and I will be able to get back to Earth.
Too late.
The voice in my head is more intense than ever, nearly knocking me over from the sheer weight of it. It prods at my brain.
I already told you, we are leaving, and we are leaving now.
No, I won't let them. I'm the one that's going to leave, and I'm not taking anything back with me. I start to move as quickly as I can, jumping over craters and bouncing across the space rock. The lunar lander is getting closer and closer. I'm surprised when I reach it. The shadows didn't stop me. I immediately get to work initiating the launch sequence. Seb and the command module can come and intercept me. All that matters right now is getting away from the moon's surface and getting out of their reach. The lander shakes and rattles as the thrusters slowly start to ignite. I'm getting away from the moon, and the whole world will know what's actually up here. A horrible, inhuman voice whispers in my ear.
Thanks for the ride.
A white-gloved hand grabs hold of my shoulder. I turn to find both of my crewmates in their warped, disfigured spacesuits in the lander with me. Those cloaked, formless things are behind them, though. The door to the lander opens, and I'm shoved and pulled toward the door, toward the moon waiting outside.
No!
I yell out, but it's no use. They're too strong for me. They're moving me just as easily as they tossed around Commander Wint. I can't do anything to fight back against them. I'm thrown out of the lunar lander, and the door is sealed shut behind me. I throw myself at it, and when I look through the small circular window to see what's inside, I see 3 people that look just like Commander Wint, Moore, and myself, all acting as if it's a perfectly normal launch, just like it should have been. That's what the return trip should look like, but it's not really us. It's those things. They're leaving the moon. I slam my hands against the door, desperately trying to open it back up, but the thrusters go into full power. I leap out of the way as the lander lifts off the moon's surface and into the blackness of space. The command module isn't far from where the lander is going. They'll be found by Seb, and he'll take them back to Earth. It can't be over. If I can warn them, I can still stop them. I open up the radio channel to try and reach our module pilot.
Seb, it's me, Seb!
There's no response. I just watch helplessly as the 2 modules meet in orbit and connect. Those things are going to have what they need to get to their new home. There has to be a way to reach him. I keep trying.
Seb, come in, Seb! Sebastian!
I finally hear an answer. Seb shouts back to me through my headset.
I hear you, what is it? That's not us on board the lunar lander. You need to get the command module back down to Earth and don't let anything on board.
There's no response.
Seb, do you hear me? That's not us. Don't let anyone or anything on there with you.
There's a long moment of silence before Seb finally speaks.
Will you relax? It's just my 2 little girls. They want me to bring them home. Seb, no. Listen to me. That's not them.
I can only stand and watch the command module begin its trip back to Earth. There's no stopping it now. The things from the moon are going to enter our atmosphere, and then there's no way of knowing what happens then. It won't be anything good. I tried to stop them from leaving here. I tried. I break down and just start sobbing. My screams echo all around me in my helmet. I'm tempted to just rip it off and let the vacuum of space put me out of my misery. I'm stranded, but the worst part is how I failed. I finally got to go to the moon, and I doomed the world. It's okay, sport. I turn. The shadow is right beside me. It looks just like my father again, casually standing on the moon in his Montreal Expos hat. Everything is going to be all right now, son. One of those aliens must have been left behind, or maybe a lot of them chose to stay behind while their brethren go to Earth. I don't know. I've already stopped trying to make sense of them. I still don't even know what they really look like. It's not for me to know. Not anymore. It wouldn't do me any good. All I know is that those things are going to cause so much pain on Earth. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters now. The thing that looks like my father puts an arm around my shoulder just like he used to. It doesn't feel like him, though. The grip on me isn't a gentle and comforting one, even if it's trying to convince me that it is.
Come on. We always talked about what might be on the dark side of the moon, right? Let's go see. Let's go see the other side of the moon man's head.
There's no point trying to resist. I can't do anything about it. I'm never going to leave the moon. I'm stuck in space with nothing but shadows to keep me company. The last slivers of my hope got launched into space when those things left. They took my sanity with them. I let all of the hopelessness wash over me and give in.
Okay, Dad. Okay.
The shadow walks me away from Earth, where I'm already so far from home. The world I know disappears from view as we move across the curvature of the lunar surface, toward whatever awaits me on the other side. I go where no one on Earth will ever be able to see from down there. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.